The state of Michigan is reportedly ending distribution of free bottled water to residents of Flint. Governor Rick Snyder announced the plan Friday, citing data which said Flint's water is testing the same as or better than cities across the state. Snyder said the decision was made based on scientific data and not arbitrarily. According to the Detroit Free Press, the city will stop handing out water once supplies run out. Reports suggest that's likely to happen within a few days. The state had been giving out free bottled water since it was revealed that the city's water supply was contaminated with lead and bacteria several years ago. That revelation has led to civil lawsuits and an ongoing criminal investigation. For more on this, I want to bring in Erik Olson. He's the Director of Health Program at the National Resources Defense Council. He joins me now from Washington. Erik, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So how many days do these Flint residents have left with the bottled water?
Well, it's unclear exactly when the supplies are going to run out. And certainly there are some encouraging signs here that the water seems to have less lead than it used to. But the crisis really isn't over. There are other contaminants that the community is very worried about.
It may have less lead, but does that mean it's safe enough for these residents to drink without having any more bottled water?
Well, this is exactly what the community is feeling. As you know, for years, there have been lies to the community about whether the water was safe. They were told that it was totally safe. There was no problem with it by the state and by some local officials. There are now criminal indictments that have been filed against some of the officials for not being truthful about what was going on. So you can understand that the community is very concerned and distrustful. It's sort of like if you had a friend that repeatedly lied to you and hurt someone in your family, it's going to take a while for them to earn trust back. And I think that's where the community is. There's still a lot of concerns about the water there.
Skeptical, to say the least. We've seen the pictures of residents using the bottled water to wash their children, to bathe them, to wash their clothes and brush their teeth. Flint is one of the lowest income areas in the state of Michigan. Is this city prepared to move on and handle this without the bottled water?
I think it's going to take some time, probably years, before many people in the community actually trust the water again. And that trust really needs to be earned. They need to do real testing, not just for lead, but for some of the other contaminants. You may remember that there was actually a large outbreak of a bacteria called Legionella that killed about a dozen people in the Flint area that's been linked to the drinking water. So it's not just the lead. There's some other problems that the community has been worried about. So we really need to fix the full array of the problems, be straight with the community about what the issues are. And although there is definitely some good news that the lead levels seem to be coming down, we still have a ways to go before the community is going to trust the water.
Erik, what exactly are they doing to improve the quality of drinking water?
Well, we at NRDC actually sued on behalf of the community, sued the state to try to clean up the water and start pulling out all of these thousands of lead pipes that are underground that were responsible for the lead that got into the water. So those pipes are being pulled up. Thousands have already been pulled out. About 2 more years left to pull out all the lead pipes across the city. And once that happens and the city really has gotten the problem under control, I think people will start trusting it a little bit more.
And as you know, a criminal investigation is currently underway. What can you tell us about that?
Well, a lot of it is not public, but we do know the indictments that have been filed. Basically, there are a couple of things that have been alleged. One is that state officials were lying and a few local officials were not being truthful with the public about what was going on with the lead crisis. And there have also been allegations about this Legionella bacteria outbreak. So it's not clear yet where all that's going to head, but it's certainly very concerning that the state has really not resolved these issues quite yet.
The NRDC helped negotiate a $100 million settlement. Do you think that's going to be enough money?
No, it's not going to be enough money. The $100 million is really just focused primarily on pulling these lead pipes out of the ground. But there are other issues with Flint's drinking water that really need to be addressed. It's an old system. It needs to be maintained. There are other needs that the city is going to have to address, and that's going to cost more money than the $100 million, even though certainly that's progress.
What else would the NRDC like to see from state and local officials?
Clearly, there needs to be more investment from the state and from the federal government in Flint to try to resolve these lead problems and some of the other infrastructure issues. I mean, this is an old system. It's been falling apart for years, hasn't been well maintained, and it's something that we really need to make some investments in to get the community back up on its feet.
All right, Erik Olson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.